Spit to the limit, a minute to win it, take you to the lieutenant's ambition, go get some lieutenants, a menace, the menace, mightier than the swords of a sentence. But fuck the president could have me underwater like Venice. Colder than the winter shadow, ruthless neck stretched like an arrow, left in remnants of the terror, DNA of the pharaohs, clone of Vince and Gino. We're born together in banks, laboratory, horror stories, suspended living, intense traits, long-witted and dead from the human family tree, brought to life with processes, recombinant, successfully, American neo-Nazi science, studies genetics, of the benevolent, and attempts to clone a crossbreed themselves with them. That's what the Human Genome Project is really about, combining genes of ancient beings with their own to make them sprout. God is waving flags like a country's the best. And if I join the kill, freedom like all the rest, buried with a medal on my chest upon even a death. Yet, where to believe a couple of G's a month is sufficient. Children without supervision are the victims of precision, preconditioned visions of materialism. Oh, fuck the I'm spitting to the limit, a minute to win it, take it to my lieutenant's bitch, and go get some lieutenants, a menace, the banners, mightier than the swords of a sentence. Like fuck the president could have me underwater like Venice. Fuck the I'm spitting to the limit, a minute to win it, take it to my lieutenant's bitch, go get some lieutenants. A menace, the banners, mightier than the swords of a sentence. Like fuck the president could have me underwater like Venice. So the truth is so much bigger than us. The truth is so much bigger than us. The truth is stranger than fiction. The truth is so much bigger than us. The truth is so much bigger than us. I want you to listen. The truth is so much bigger than us. The truth is so much bigger than us. The truth is stranger than fiction. The truth is so much bigger than us. The truth is so much bigger than us. I want you to listen. The very definition of a militant microphone match, I know lie can stand against reality when the two are collided. In this vaccines, chemtrails, eugenic stem cells, sterility facilities, set up in all of them jails. Brzezinski with Obama's like Bush would call Road. Roots from the CFR to Bohemian Road, burning fraternities, spilling bones. Rosalind Club, the Iron Fist sheep beneath the UN's velvet glove and love. With the imaginary world they show you on the telly. Never buy what they want to sell me, trying to tell me that I need to be a slave in an open air prison. Planetary system to forever and still control through fear and division. For no stakes or fakes will collaborate, just fade to hate. Anyone say that I'm right, like vampires to light. These are the type of what is fire tonight. But an antithetical force, and why do you pay property taxes if the land's already yours, of course? The answer is quite simple, it's not. Now can you spot the plot? It doesn't really matter how much money you got, because the feds feel entitled to whatever they want. Just like Pete Wichert, a man like me could never give it. So listen, when I'm telling you the truth is stranger than fiction. Truth is stranger than fiction, 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 fiction.
All right, you're live with Pete Wichert, and I'm joined via the phone by the one, the only artist formerly known as Seth Davis, now known as Smoke. What's going on, Smoke?
Oh, what's going on there, Pete?
Yes, that song we just played Wow, I have the date file me, but that's pretty cool. And I got the Seth's YouTube page up right here on the screen. Uh, Everybody check out that free album he dropped. I'm telling you, man, if you guys like K Reno, if you guys like Diesel Automatic, if you guys like something that's not talking about, clothes, women, money, things like that. It's some real issues, and also about Pete Wichert, the truth is stranger in fiction, baby, which I love. To go to Seth Davis, search him on YouTube, support him, listen to the tracks, and you're gonna be blown away what this guy did with the limited amount of money. If he had a budget really at all.
Oh, well, thank you, Pete. I did it quite literally with $0.00 American there. So yeah.
I just had to say that, buddy. I really did, and I mean, honest to God, dude. I was driving in my car today, listening to the tracks, and the bass line on these things. It bumps more than a lot of I'm not. And this is no diss on either one, K Reno or Diesel tracks, man. So there's good production value. Seth doesn't even sound like Seth, if you ask me, man. I don't know. I hope he ain't pulling some Milli Vanilli stuff here, but I mean,
no, it's all good,
he
man.
could make. I think with your
microphone just makes a huge difference.
I think with your support out there, listening to him, getting sharing that, you could help Seth, go further in this career because he's got talent, and that's my main point, And I mean,
well, thank you, Pete. Thank you. I mean, honestly, anybody. My whole goal was it's no point to get picked up or something like that, but is to actually inspire other people to want to do it themselves, just to see what they themselves can do on a supremely limited budget of nothing, but just the time and effort that they spend on making something.
Mm-hmm. And that's just kind of what I tried to prove with the truth is stranger in fiction, especially now with the makeshift studio. But even with the studio itself, that cost money to produce, and and I didn't have much else to put in as far as like the graphics and just props and stuff. Just couldn't do it. I could afford this mic, and that's about it. And hey, look at all the guests we had on, and I appreciate the people going back, and I noticed the views going up on a ton of the shows we did out of the studio, and I'd like to thank you guys, and you could see that the things that Seth and I said year ago, 2 years ago, things I said that have came true, and maybe now, it's the people are starting to realize that maybe Seth and I might know a little more than they thought, just because we're younger.
Oh, I mean, just to back you up there, Pete, perfectly. As we speak, like literally, we could not have scripted this better. A formation of 3 military helicopters flying overhead right as we talk about this. So yeah, things have changed a little bit since we first started doing this show.
Oh yeah, brother. And some most for the worse, some for the better, and we're trying to stick together and keep bringing the real, keep bringing the news to everyone out there. But both of us have to also support our families and unfortunately
ourselves, all this type of stuff, because anybody that thinks that we can keep a show going and do it 5 days a week or something like that without actually making money off of it somehow is seriously high on crack. Like, I got to work a day job, dude. Like, you got to work a day job. This is reality, man. You don't just get to sit around and get paid government welfare checks. I mean, well, at least if you're a goddamn man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Instead of being some fucking leech for the system there, which is how they try and break all of us there by taking our independence.
No, you're absolutely correct. And even most people that do work, like Walmart, encourages their employees to basically get disability or not disability, to get assistance like food stamps and stuff, and that's why they keep their basically their wages low. And people just don't have an option to protest. You need money. So that's why we haven't been on the air as much. It's not that we lost any of our drive or passion. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, a lot of it's just been expressed differently. And I mean, I've been trying to keep up with the news there when I can and everything like that. It's just so much of it is stewing on information and actually discussing with other people their perspectives on a lot of these issues and just seeing things unfold from, let's say, outside of even the alternative media itself actually shows a lot of how much, quite literally, the term fear porn is actually perfect when it comes to describing so much of the alternative media out there of either divisive crap that literally only wants to half-heartedly explain what's going on right now, or just outright fear porn, that they want to just fearmonger the shit out of everything and make people scared to death just so they'll buy some products from them.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, we don't just...
Not that I would ever use any names or anything like that, or call out any specific organization.
Oh, you didn't do... You just went there, Seth Davis. Oh, man.
You might think I'm one of the only guys that will go there and yet not just bash any of these people, including him, for just no reason there or whatever, or just out of turn. But for the reality of what it is, man, we've had that conversation so many goddamn times.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And
I use him as a good example there or whatever, but there's so many people in the alternative media that are just as guilty of it or whatever. You and I were having a conversation earlier about how just in general it's become harder to believe pretty much anything, man, or pretty much nihilism just reigns supreme because you have to be cynical about everything. You have to be skeptical about everything because so many of these sons of bitches want to lie to you about everything. I mean, you think it's like we're literally on a planet populated by crazy people that believe in insane ideologies, be they political or religious or social, whatever.
Wow, you know what? That's a good lead in to that video I wanted to play about Jeb Bush. Mm-hmm. You know, because all of a sudden we're hearing, I don't know, I've been monitoring the news, okay, a ton, like, especially because on my day off, I am so mentally exhausted that I just literally lay there like a zombie recovering and listen to these debates, the news coverage, and sometimes on multiple channels. And the worst thing here is that they do. I mean, for as much as Donald Trump has been bringing up about Bush, and I'll give him that, like, I'm actually pretty surprised about that whole situation. There's a lot that people don't know, and Seth and I were gonna do a show, basically a couple part show on Too Real News about the Nazi connection in the United States. And
I would absolutely still love to.
And that I think that is something we should definitely look into doing still. And I'm gonna just type Jeb Bush Nazi. I had a playlist set up, but I believe that was on my other. Oh, okay, first video up. It's 9 minutes. I mean, we could, you know, you could respond. Excuse me, Seth. You could respond without, you know, I don't mind. We'll kind of commentate this video, but I'm trying to see if there's anything a bit shorter. But yeah, even it says today Donald Trump under fire for tweeting Jeb Bush with Nazi flag. So again, another thing that kind of is making me believe in the guy. I mean, I hate to admit it, but there's some things that he's saying that I think a normal politician that was working for the establishment just really wouldn't say, you know. But that's...
I get that, and I get why a lot of people feel that way about him, or a lot of people feel that way about Bernie Sanders, but there's just as much stuff that I see them do that bespeaks somebody that is completely and totally in bed with the system. Much less the fact that, you know, we're talking somebody that switched political parties repeatedly, played up politics as much as anybody you can imagine. And I mean,
switched parties.
regardless of any of the differences, as we discussed earlier there, between any of these people, they all still support a imperialist, militaristic American foreign policy that is essentially Team America World Police.
Yeah, for all the, there's a ton of crazy things he says, like throw more people on Guantanamo and, this and that.
Yeah, well, dude, I mean, Pete, stuff like that, whether or not people say, oh, that's just some offhanded crazy thing he says, that's the fucking gist of it. That's why they put the Overton window so far to either side. That's all Donald Trump is meant to be. He's meant to be one edge of the Overton window, whereas Bernie Sanders is meant to be the other edge of that. And within that entire paradigm, you still are wrapped up in the left-right paradigm and all the bullshit, and at no point are actually disconnecting from the matrix, as it were. Whereas to you or I there, when we're actually on it, Pete, we're completely and totally devoid of most American politics as far as talking about political parties and whether or not the Republicans are the good guys or the Democrats are the good guys, or that any person affiliated with either of these toxic parties would ever be anything less than scum.
Yeah, I know. And Obama made me fall in the same fucking trap, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that right there is more than enough reason to be skeptical of everybody, but especially a Republican or a Democrat.
Mm-hmm. But, George Bush said
that were Republicans got pulled on the same bullshit with George W. Bush after Bill Clinton.
Yeah, and
because all these guys say stuff that sounds great before they get elected. That's the whole point.
Yeah, yeah. The only difference though that makes me have hope is that Trump has so much invested in the economy that there's a legitimate, concern,
but those other people don't.
No, they have
just as much tied up in the illegal economy as anybody there. They have
but Trump is
promote the gears of war turning. I mean, George W. Bush or Hillary Clinton have just as much reason to keep Lockheed Martin pumping out.
Oh, but Lockheed
or Boeing pumping out airplanes as anybody.
Lockheed will never be threatened, Seth, and you know that they would never. It would never be hard enough times to have a military presence in the United States. You know that Trump and his hotels. That's a different story. If traveling goes down, there's a terrorist attack. He loses money, plain and simple, because of his.
So wouldn't he be gaining money from any of a number of other illegal sources if he is the bad guy or the deceiver, as many people want to put out there?
One's
got to at least consider that.
Yeah.
Perhaps, well, maybe he's going to have to take the hit of losing money with any of this type of stuff to be gaining the ground of being president, being the head pawn in charge.
Yeah, I'm completely aware of it.
As somebody far wiser than myself once said, the power hungry are hungry for power.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. The only people that are hungry for power, that lust for power, are those that are power hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
And as long as we have president,
the only reason you would be doing any of this is if you wanted the fame, you wanted the acclaim, you wanted the power. That's it.
Yeah, and if we, honest to God, as long as we have a president, that's gonna be like that forever.
Well, yeah.
And
because who the hell really thinks that this nation is so great and it's gonna be saved by some asshole being elected, regardless of, dude, it could literally be the coolest person in the world gets elected to president of the United States. And what does that really mean for changing the government? What does that really mean for changing the society, changing the nation? Not one goddamn thing.
No, you're
Yet
right.
people have so much wrapped up into this that they think that somehow if Donald Trump wins, even if he was a good guy, that somehow that would change anything.
Yeah, you're right, but we have to have some kind of optimism, Yeah,
but when people have that option for the fucking Libertarian Party or for independence or something, it becomes, well, there's no way that those guys could ever win. So I'm like, where did that optimism go?
Yeah, that's true.
That optimism is apparently selective in that it only is available for Republicans or Democrats, people with a R or a D on their chest. That's pretty much the only people that get optimism.
That's actually extremely true. I can't disagree. It's just the.
You'll notice that in the alternative media, how many people claim to be independent media, and yet have us chasing our own goddamn tails over and over again with Republicans and Democrats. But, you know, aside from all that, before we get off on too big of a jag here, I wanted to get into some of the news that we have.
I was going to play that. I was going to play that.
There's just more than enough to get into here, and all of it extremely serious.
Hey, Seth,
a little bit more important, no matter how important you think Donald Trump is. A little bit more important than that.
I wanted to play this Bush clip. This
okay, sounds good.
Just because, like I said, we're going to do, you know, basically, and we still will, pretty much like 5-part series just about the industrialist politicians and things like that. Like, basically, the important people.
Well, we've already done part 1 of it, haven't we? Of the, I believe it was the occult connection.
The occult connection.
Stuff like that.
Yep, and we're going to keep going. And a lot of people have called me out personally in email, so it's a little at home. This video just basically is, you know, explained better than I could do it, and it's titled "Jeb Bush Close Nazi Ties Exposed," and it's playing on the screen right now.
Reporter and a journalist for 35 years. I've worked in every major media market in the United States, and I've written for more than 100 newspapers and magazines nationally and internationally. So last September 17th, I became the first journalist in U.S. history to go to the U.S. National Archives and the Library of Congress and pore over the thousands of pages of documents in both places to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt or any refutation of the facts that Prescott Bush, the grandfather of George W. Bush, and George Herbert Walker,
are you watching this, Seth?
Great-grandfather for whom his daddy is named, were Nazi traitors to the country who should have been tried for treason. Prescott Bush was the grandfather of George W. Bush and the father of George Herbert Walker Bush, and George Herbert Walker Bush is named for his father-in-law, George Herbert Walker. Prescott Bush graduated from Yale in 1917 and was in Skull and Bones with E. Roland Harriman, who was the younger brother of W. Averill Harriman. The Bush family really had nothing going. They were essentially social climbers and opportunistic people. At the time that Prescott Bush met Dorothy Walker, he was a tire salesman. And George Herbert Walker, as all fathers do when their daughter's going to marry someone, said in his heart, you know, it's not an appropriate thing socially that my daughter marry a tire salesman. So he brought Prescott Bush first into Brown Brothers Harriman and then Union Banking Corporation. In actuality, it was anything but a bank. It was essentially a Nazi money laundering operation that had a lot of tentacles into a lot of different other businesses. They owned a shipping line called Hamburg American Line, for example, which was the first Nazi front business seized, although the line was no longer operational in 1942. In the early 1930s, it transported Nazi spies into the U.S., and then their promotional ads offered cash rewards to any American citizens who would go back on Hamburg American lines and proselytize for Hitler. 8 months after the U.S. had entered the
family
war,
is from
the
Hamburg.
New York Herald Tribune ran a front-page article, "Hitler's Angel has $3 million in U.S. bank." And it caused a major scandal and just rocked the world of politics. Brown Brothers Harriman, which George Herbert Walker and Prescott Bush were affiliated with and partners in, worked with I.G. Farben, which operated Auschwitz. Prescott Bush, he did a number of things that were not only anti-American, but were pro-Hitler, and he did all that he could to proselytize for Hitler and the rise of his Third Reich, because the largest client, Fritz Thyssen, of his patron, W. Averill Harriman, dictated what kind of behavior he would practice to enhance his own career. So he was put on the board of directors of Union Banking Corporation, and he was also a shareholder in Union Banking Corporation, along with E. Roland Harriman. But what's interesting about what the documents show is that they clearly state that all of the shareholders were phantom shareholders for Fritz Thyssen and did his bidding directly. So